you tonight. My name is Chris Stigall. I do a couple things here in town. I host a mid-morning program on KCMO Talk Radio out of Kansas City. Hold your applause. But in addition, my wife and I have been honored to partner with the Herzog Foundation, and we've been hosting a little podcast that we just found so exciting and enriching personally, and we hope that folks that listen to it will be helped like we've been helped. It's called Making the Leap, and it's been about our personal experience in growing, not just in our faith, but helping grow in Christian education in our family. And I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. But it's just an honor, first of all, to be back here in my home state. Christine and I have been gone for the last 10 years on the road, and to be back here in Missouri with good old-fashioned show-me state values is a lot of fun, and it warms my heart, and I love this place and the people in it. So I look forward to hearing from several of you tonight. It's truly a celebration of all of you, and the education options that are now, thankfully, finally available to Missouri families. And we're just getting started, am I right? We're just getting started. This year, the state of Missouri implemented its very first school choice program. I hope a lot of you are familiar with it. Those of you who aren't, we're going to make sure you are tonight. It's called Most Scholars. The Most Scholars program allows Missouri families to apply for scholarships and use those scholarships at the school of their choice. And the best part is that these scholarships are completely funded by tax credits. So if you're a Missouri taxpayer, instead of sending your hard-earned tax dollars to Jefferson City, you get to spend up to 50% of those funds to organizations dedicated to places like the Herzog Foundation to send those tax dollars to private schools. So let's say, for instance, you owe the Missouri Department of Revenue $1,000 in taxes this year. If you donate $500 to the Herzog Foundation, that cuts your tax obligations to the state of Missouri in half. So if you're going to pay the $1,000, you may as well give it to somebody you really want to see do great things with it. And that's how it works. So half and half. We have handouts and representatives from the Herzog Foundation with us tonight who'd be happy to share more specifics on the program with you. Myella Esser and Josh Hurlbert are here. Myella, there she is. Josh is back there, so they're flanked on both sides of the room. They'll tackle you if you want to see them. They would love to answer your questions. They have a booth set up in the Fireside Lounge, so if you're interested to know more about Most Scholars and how it works and how that might be applied in maybe your school or your own personal life, please see them both. And this is really impressive. The two of them that I just mentioned, and along with the foundation writ large, $3 million, ladies and gentlemen, have been awarded over 400 scholarships to Missouri students from this place. The Herzog Foundation has raised more money and awarded more scholarships than any group in the state doing what's done in this building. So that's so impressive. To really demonstrate the impact that these scholarships are making, in a few moments you're going to hear from some Christian school administrators, parents, advocates, and even the donors, some of the donors that fund these scholarships, some really special people. Each individual and group plays a unique and important role in Missouri's education freedom movement. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to some of our guests tonight. Up first, he is a co-superintendent and principal at St. Joseph Christian School, which is about 30 minutes north up here in St. Joe. The founder and namesake of this foundation, Stan Herzog, was very involved at St. Joseph Christian School over his lifetime. I know he'd be overjoyed were he here to see the growth of not just that school, but this magnificent place and the impact that these scholarships are making in his hometown. I also am told by his very, very good friends, that he celebrated a 50th birthday. And they said, feel free to call him out on it. And I said, well, I don't know him, so you've got to ride home with him. Fine. Happy 50th birthday to Danny Maggart. Danny, come on up.
Thank you very much. And it's always an honor or a privilege to talk about what God is doing and what He's doing in Christian education. As I get started briefly this evening, I want to thank the Herzog Foundation for all that they do just nationwide and the impact, tremendous impact that they've had in such a short time frame, and also especially with this Most Scholars program. I want to thank my co-superintendent, Rose Dunlap. I couldn't say enough about her and the opportunity I have to work with her every day. I want to thank David Gregory, who is our Finance Committee Chair. He has been such a big part of our school's involvement with this No Scholars program and does so much behind the scenes. And I also want to thank Brad Wheel, who is here tonight as well, who is our Finance Manager. Brad has been in close contact with the Herzog Foundation. He's been very heavily involved from the get-go in communicating with all of our stakeholders to try to raise money, to let our families know, hey, here's an opportunity that you have. And so I just can't thank all of these people enough. So the impact of the Most Scholars on St. Joseph Christian School has been profound. This fall, we have 56 students who have been approved. 46 of those students have been funded. And that is just over $293,000. Just can't really believe I'm saying that, but that is just a tremendous blessing. And with that, our regular school tuition assistance program, we are able to go out and help even more families because of this. Ones that don't qualify, ones that might not live in the city limits, and things of that nature. And so it's just been such a tremendous blessing to the school. And these families that have come on this program are just tremendous fits for St. Joseph Christian School. And it's been such a blessing. I want to briefly just share three just quick things that deal with this scholarship and then also with the impact of Christian education. So this past spring, Mrs. Dunlap and I, we do what's called a meet and greet. Most of the schools do this kind of thing. It's kind of like an interview where we talk to families about, okay, we want to make sure they're a fit for our school. And so we sat down with this tremendous family from St. Joe, this husband and wife and their three young girls, an elementary girl, a junior high girl, and a high school girl. We had a great meeting, and during that meeting, we're like, this family, this is exactly what we were looking for. This is a family that's desiring a Christian education. But kind of the bummer about the meeting was, all throughout it, the dad just continued to be like, man, this all sounds great, but I just feel like I'm wasting your time. You know, we're in this hour-long meeting, and I just feel like I'm wasting your time because there is no way that I'm going to be able to send all three of my girls to this school. Maybe one, but who do I choose to do that? But there's no way this is going to happen. Well, this was kind of early on in the Most Scholars program, and so we were able to kind of plant a seed to this family and say, hey, there's this movement going on. There's this legislation that's passed, so you might want to take a look at it. Well, fast forward to December I should know this because my birthday was 2 days ago, December the 6th, and we have a family in our school. We have two parents that are heavily involved in their kids' lives. They stay on campus all the time, as happy as they can be. And we have three young ladies that are thriving in a Christian school. Amen. And that is, I couldn't give a more bigger advertisement for this program. And I'm just so excited about what this has meant. This is just one story. There's three of our 46 students, or three of our 56 students who are in our school because of this program now. But what is the power of Christian education? I could stand up here for hours and talk about that, but I've got a couple of quick stories from this fall. So it was the first week of September, and our new Bible teacher for the 7th grade girls comes walking into my office with tears in her eyes, and I'm thinking, you mean the honeymoon period's already over? I mean, it's only the second week of school, and my teacher's already crying. What in the world? Usually this is at least lasts till October, right? And but here's what she shared with me. She said, Mr. Magrick, I had 5 7th grade girls come up to me just now after class, and they want to give their life to Christ.
Wow. Amen.
And again, it doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't get any better than that. The other story I just want to share comes from, I've got it here. So 2 years ago, I met a young lady who a family in St. Joe had just adopted from the Philippines, and they brought her into my office wanting to see if maybe she could come the next year, or the coming fall. I met him in May, a couple years ago. And so this young lady could not speak any English at all. She kind of kept her head down, but not hard to look at me. She was just kind of embarrassed, didn't really know how to interact yet. Coming from an orphanage in the Philippines, it made a lot of sense. And so we talked, well, let's see. Let's see about August, how she's doing with her English. Again, just a great Christian family. And they called me and said, you know what, she's just not ready, but maybe the following year. So the following year happened, and I met this bright-eyed young lady named Grace who looked me in the eye and said, hi, Mr. Magrick. I couldn't believe it was the same young lady. It was a no-brainer to enroll her into the school. And so on September 15th, I received this email. It says, Dear Mr. Magrick, I hope this email finds you well and off to a good start with the school year. Grace has transitioned well and is thoroughly enjoying life at SJCS. She studies a lot, has a lot of homework and activities, and seems to love every minute of it. I wanted to share a few of her reflections with you. When I picked Grace up from school after the first day of chapel, she told me how she cried during worship. She said she was not sure why she cried, but she was happy. I explained to her that it was the joy of the Holy Spirit coming alive within her. There's nothing better than feeling the Holy Spirit awaken within you. It was priceless. She went on to tell me how much she loved SJCS and being able to pray and learn about God in every classroom. She also feels very safe at SJCS, and that is not something she felt at her previous school. More recently, Grace was cheering at the junior high football game on Tuesday. On her way home, she explained that this was the best year of my life. I asked her if she meant since she had been in the United States because it's only been a year and a half. She replied, no, this has been the best year of my entire life. I'm so happy. I remember thinking what a blessing it has been to be called to work through all the hard with her and then get to see her happy and at peace as a child of God. She was baptized just a couple of months ago. Also, what a blessing it has been to have her at SJCS. The Most Scholars program provides a great opportunity for young people to find hope by getting a complete education that is based on biblical truth. The hope for this world lies in Christ and young people being trained and inspired to spread his light in this dark world. Our 35-year theme this year at St. Joseph Christian School is Shine On. It's based on Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. It says, in the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. It is my prayer that God continues to use families, the church, and the Christian school to train our young people to shine on for him. The Most Scholars program gives families and ultimately young people such a great opportunity to shine for Christ like never before in this dark world. Thank you.
You know, it's no fun to tease a guy about turning 50 when he looks 30. Kind of irritates me. You're older than me and I already look 1 foot in the grave. All right. Our next speaker is a wonderful lady. She's the co-founder and chief executive officer of the Scarborough Group, a full-service international and domestic logistics provider. In addition, she's the co-founder of the Northland Christian Education System in Kansas City, where she was elected treasurer of the school board in 2008. It also happens to be where our daughter attends, and she served on the school board at Northern Hills Christian School before that. Now, she's helping students attend Christian school by donating to that Most Scholars program we were just talking about. This year, through she and her family's donation alone, 15 Missouri students were able to attend a school of their choosing, and their family's choosing this year. Please welcome Jeannie Scarborough. Jeannie.
Thank you. Wasn't sure exactly what to be expecting. I was thinking this big, huge political rally or something. But death and taxes. It's a phrase commonly referencing a famous quote written by American statesman Benjamin Franklin. He said this in 1778. Our new Constitution is now established and has an appearance that promises permanency. But in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except for death and taxes. To that I say, death, we as Christians have beaten death. Jesus gave that to us by giving us eternity. Amen. Taxes, and now using the Herzog Foundation and Most Scholars, we can direct our taxes for his good purpose. So we here in Missouri can beat death and taxes. There seems to be a debate in America about whose responsibility it is to teach up or to raise up our children. This should not be a debate. It is the responsibility of the parents and not the government. Public schools started off teaching our children, but then moved into indoctrinating them. Now they have even taken on on the role of raising them. Completely taking on responsibility and even taking the authority right out of the hands of the parents. And most parents don't even realize what's happening. They have no idea how much power the public schools actually have over your children. Christian parents need to wake up. They need to take their responsibility back. They can no longer take the chance of turning a blind eye, or they can no longer leave the responsibility to the teachers. They must take an active role and responsibility and realize that it is their God-given job to raise their children and to teach them up in every capacity. Northland Christian is how I am involved in every day helping the Christian education process. And one of the big goals at Northland Christian, and it always has been from the beginning, is to make Christian education in the Northland of Kansas City affordable, accessible, and sustainable. This can give parents a choice and a chance to take on a much more active role in raising up their children. Most Scholars helps with all three of these areas. Most Scholars helps to make Christian education affordable by helping to fill in the gaps of tuition where there's needs. Most Scholars helps to make Christian education accessible. The more children that attend Christian education, the more classrooms that are available for the next child. And Most Scholars helps to make Christian education sustainable by keeping both affordable and accessible working, allowing schools to charge what it costs to educate, and to not always have to rely on contributions to balance their budgets. So affordable, accessible, and sustainable are just three of the reasons why my husband Roger and I are supporting Most Scholars by utilizing Missouri's tax credits to support Most Scholars. We can send even more children to Christian education. Thank you.
You know, in the last month I've seen Jeannie speak twice. She was the keynote speaker at the Northland Christian annual banquet fundraiser, and then she was here tonight. I don't know, that logistics business, that could be like a side hustle. Go on the speakers tour up there.
Yeah.
Make big money on that deal. Thanks, Jeannie. Our next speaker, Patrick Ishmael, he is the Director of Government Accountability at the Show Me Institute. He's a native of Kansas City, graduate of St. Louis University. He earned honors degrees in finance and political science and a law degree with business concentration. He's written for several publications. The Los Angeles Times has published him, as well as the Weekly Standard, dozens of publications across the state and the country. He's an expert in the very specific area of Missouri policy in the Most Scholars program, and we welcome him to the podium, Patrick Ishmael. Patrick.
Well, first of all, thank you to the Herzog Foundation and for your contribution to the Most Scholars program, and to all the esteemed guests that were before me and will come after me. I am but a lowly bearded nerd, and I hope to at least offer some insights into why school choice is so important, and kind of the view that the Show Me Institute has of school choice and of free markets in general. You know, when we talk about what we do, we say that we're a free market think tank, and it's easy to kind of lapse into talking about supply and demand, kind of convoluted ideas and philosophies. But at its core, when we say that we believe in free markets, what we're saying is that we believe in people. People make their lives better off, their families better off, the city, this county, this state, this country, and this world better off. Because when you empower the individuals to make choices, you're actually giving them the responsibility and the right and the opportunity to do well for themselves, because they already have a vested interest in those things. That's what makes school choice so important. And there are lots of different kinds of school choice. You have the Most Scholars program, which hopefully we'll have expanded in the next year or two, because it really should be available to more people and more children than it is right now. But you also have the idea of interdistrict choice. But whatever kind of school choice that you're talking about, what's important is that you also have informed school choice. And what that means is that, especially in the context of government-run schools, public schools, I think a lot of folks don't understand the kind of dire straits the state of Missouri has been in when it comes comes to our public education. And to kind of give you some context, in 1992, the state of Missouri was ranked 14th in the country in its performance, fourth grade performance for math proficiency. Today, we have results that came out about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and we are now ranked 35th in the country. Only about 1 in 3 students in Missouri right now is proficient in math and in reading. That means 2/3 are not. And I don't know about you, but when I was in school, if I only got 1/3 of the questions right, I failed. And yet here in Missouri, we have over 500 districts, and we have precisely 0 that are unaccredited. Basically, we're endorsing failure up and down in our traditional public school system, and that just can't continue. And so from our perspective, if you want to enhance school choice, I think you have to start actually expanding those programs, but you also have to make the argument for why it's important, why markets work, why choice works. And I think that relies very heavily on transparency, in 3 particular kinds of transparency, in fact. The first kind of transparency is transparency in spending. We've sent thousands of Sunshine Law requests around the state asking cities, states, school districts, how are you spending money? And unfortunately, the Sunshine Law is oftentimes very weak. And so we don't necessarily get great responses. Sometimes we do, but a lot of times we don't. But transparency in how money is being spent, particularly at the district level and at the school level, is very important. Transparency in curriculum. We did a similar project. We sent, over the course of the last 2 years, 6,000 Sunshine Law requests to schools and districts across the state asking, are you teaching critical race theory? What are you teaching our kids right now? And it's very interesting because of the things that we received back, I think a lot of parents were not aware of it. Kansas City Public School District roundly endorses critical race theory. There are some districts that teach their teachers that Christians oppress all other religions, that the able-bodied oppress the disabled, that we live in a cage of oppression here in the United States. And so actually understanding that and actually getting to see exactly what is being taught to kids is enormously important, because a lot of parents not only don't know how money is being spent, they don't know what's being taught, and the third part of this is transparency in performance. A lot of parents simply don't know that their district might be really bad when it comes to actually educating kids. And so you have all these things that the school or district might be teaching that might be objectionable, and then at the same time they're not learning their reading, writing, and arithmetic. And so this builds on itself over time. Programs like the Most Dollars program, programs that enhance school choice, allow for kind of a safety valve to ensure that parents are empowered to take care of their kids the way that they ought to be taken care of. There is no one-size-fits-all education, and when you talk about school choice, knowing what's going on in your school and knowing what's going on in your district is enormously important. And I think with those tools and with the tools of actual school choice, I think a lot of really good progress can be made, not only to get kids in environments that are conducive to getting them better educated, but also actually getting them better educated. Now, I'm so thankful for what the Herzog Foundation has done just in the last year or 2 in this space. It's an amazing organization. It's wonderful to see the folks assembled here and the support that this foundation has. And I'm looking forward to working with them and working with all friends of school choice and better education in the years, not only this legislative session, but the years and decades to come. So, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Now that's a handsome fellow. Thank you, Patrick. Our next guest is the Director of Outreach at the Children's Education Alliance of Missouri, or SEAM, C-E-A-M, as they are more commonly known. SEAM has been working hard for years to fight for an education system where students are not left behind and stuck in a one-size-fits-all system, but instead are given the power to choose the educational path that fits them best. They were a vital part of getting the Most Scholars program passed in Jefferson City, and we're very, very thankful for their leadership. We're welcoming their director to the podium right now, Cece Tompkins. Cece, come on.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. Again, Cece with SEAM, the Children's Education Alliance of Missouri. This is just such an exciting time right now, this whole past year. What a great celebration tonight, but it's been a celebration for over a year, just watching this scholarship program roll out and actually get into the hands of families. It's just incredible. So at SEAM, we're a nonprofit that's focused on parent advocacy and grassroots activism, and for over 10 years, we've been bringing parents to the Capitol, encouraging them to send emails, make phone calls, and it's just incredible to see all of these families now reaping the rewards, all the fruits of their labor for so many years. I've just been lucky to be working alongside them for this full time. And one thing I really want to make sure everyone walks out of here tonight with is the understanding that this is changing and saving lives. This is no exaggeration at all. So I just want to share with you one parent's story. His name is Adam, and his daughter just entered a small private high school as a freshman, and she was being completely failed by her previous school. She was 4 grades below grade level in reading and math. And not just that, worse. I mean, she was being bullied daily to the point where she was threatening suicide. I mean, this was a life-threatening situation for her to remain at this school. And with this scholarship, it allowed them to be able to make that change. She's getting the one-on-one attention every day from her teachers. She's getting caught up to grade level. She's happy. She's making friends. I mean, it's just a transformative. And as Adam puts it, he says it's 100% change around from where she was, hating school and being depressed to being happy and excited and being a kid again. So this is definitely a time to celebrate, absolutely. I know we feel like we've crossed this big finish line for those of us who've been involved in this work for so long, but we have more marathons to run.
Yes.
There's a lot more work to be done. There's a lot of families that are not currently able to receive these scholarships. I mean, we have to expand this, like, as far as the cap in the program, geographically, there's a lot of work to be done here. So I just want to encourage everyone to continue to be involved, to continue to advocate. One day we'll be like Arizona,
Amen.
where every single child in the state
Yes.
will be able to take their tax money and put it where they want. Money belongs to families, not institutions.
Yes.
So, parents know best how to educate their children. They also know that not all children learn the same way. So there's more work to be done. It's not just about these scholarships, it's about all school choice. So hope you all continue to work alongside us and work together. It takes coalition, it takes numbers. So I hope that we'll see you at the Capitol and continue to advocate for school choice. Thank you.
And there's not much in the news lately about Arizona that makes me say I want to be like Arizona, but on that issue, you're right. That's pretty cool what they managed to achieve there. Next, Andy Wells. Andy, a father of 5, and the Missouri State President of No Left Turn in Education. I hope a lot of you know about that organization. There are many great chapters all across the country. Andy heads the Missouri chapter. That's an organization that advocates against race-based education and problematic school curricula. He is a true education freedom fighter. He retired from the United States Army as a senior non-commissioned officer after 23 years of service, moved back to Houston, Missouri 11 years ago for the small town life, and now he is working tirelessly to make sure rural Missourians have those same educational opportunities and options that we're discussing here tonight. So please welcome to the podium, Andy Wells. Andy.
Okay, so for anybody who's ever heard me talk, I'm getting out my stopwatch because I don't talk for 5 minutes normally. I'm serious. All right. Like I said, my name's Andy Wells. I've been involved in this fight since I saw the craziness of what's happening in public schools. When I first heard about this scholarship program, I thought, what a great idea. Using taxpayer money to actually send kids to the school that their parents want them to go to instead of where the state says they must go to. Well, in case you haven't figured out by the press, by what's going on, there is a large contingent, mostly of the education establishment, that absolutely hates this program. They hate it with passion because they're scared, because they realize that if there is school choice, if mom and dad actually get to choose where to send their children, they're not going to be sending to most of the public schools because they're failing them. Public schools are failing the students, flat out. You know, one of the statistics that I remember off the top of my head was right after the 2020 census, they did a study and they said, okay, the national average of people who identify as LGBTQIA plus, whatever letters they've added, that was 5.6%. But in children between 13 and 17, that number was 24.7%. Why are the kids at such a higher rate? Where are the kids getting it? Hey, I got a pretty good idea, and that's that government school down the street. So this is an option. This is a place where we as Christians have the option to send our children to where we want them to be educated, not where the people who want to change society want them to be educated. We have that opportunity. Now the problem is, this needs to be expanded greatly. Now, if any of you don't know, currently the scholarship program applies. You have to live in a city of 30,000 or more population. Well, there's one problem with that. I live in Texas County, Missouri. We have 28,000 people in our county. Not city, county. There are counties in this state that don't have 30,000 population. Do we get an option? There is not a private school in Texas County, Missouri. There is one private school in Wright County, Missouri that I would have to drive 40 minutes one way to take my children to. You think I'm doing that every day? I wish I had this opportunity. And it's not like the church doesn't want to put a Christian school. It's not like there couldn't be private schools in the county if that option was there, because parents want the best for their children. There is not a single parent that wants their children to do bad. None. They want their children to have the best educational opportunity that they can get. And right now, the public schools are not it. The public schools are failing your children. They are, flat out. And we need this option, but we need it to expand. We need this program expanded, as the last lady said, absolutely. We need an Arizona model where we're taking the $6,000+ that the state is sending to the schools per child needs to follow the children, not the institutions. And the schools are going to complain and say, the teachers' unions, they're already fighting us tooth and nail, and they're saying, but we're not being paid enough. And our schools aren't getting enough money. Well, our teachers in the state of Missouri, by the way, it's a really cool thing. We have this called Google. You can look stuff up. USA Facts, teachers, and Forbes and CNN Money. Between those three, the average salary for a teacher in the state of Missouri is $51,000. You take that teacher and move them to, let's say Washington, D.C. The average starting salary for a teacher in Washington, D.C. is $80,000. But if you do the cost of living expense difference, a teacher making $50,000 in Missouri would be making $82,000 in D.C., more than their average. You understand what I'm saying? These teachers that are out there, these unions, these government officials that are saying we need to pump more money into schools. There has not been a single year in the state of Missouri where the school districts have gotten less money from the state than the previous year. Not one. But do we see our grades improving? Do we see our student scores improving? Do we see their college graduation rates improving? Their SAT scores increasing? No, we don't. They're all going down. Every year, our students are doing worse, but we're putting more money into it. We need an option, we need a choice, and thankfully the Herzog Foundation is doing the right thing by helping kids get into schools, that they will have those opportunities to grow, to learn, and to be better citizens. It's my job with my 3 adopted daughters to make sure that they have the best education possible, and I want them to have the option. So we have to not only continue to fund the options we have, but we have to create more options. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
He's a man of his word. Well done.
You know, I don't know, is it still out there, Daryl, for the longest time when I would visit this building, there's a sign.
It's there.
Is it still out there? I don't even know what it means.
Yeah.
There's a sign when you leave here tonight, you're gonna see this no left turn. It's not an advertisement for anything. It's a construction related sign. It's hilarious though. I love it every time I leave. I'm like, that's right, no left turn. Right. So it's like we're making a statement, it's actually a construction sign. Go on. Anyway, before I turn it over to my friend Daryl, the president of the Herzog Foundation, I just wanted to kind of reset a little bit about who I am and my wife Christine. We came to be partners with the Herzog Foundation a bit ago in a new podcast project called Making the Leap, and it was born out of our story, our personal story. We have 3 children, and our youngest daughter is someone that we really, in the height of COVID in Pennsylvania, we really started to feel like things were going haywire quickly, as it did the whole country, but in Pennsylvania it was a unique kind of hell. And, and after schools closed and stayed closed and continued to stay closed, and you know all about the curriculum we were exposed to, all of us across the country, the things we saw, it was the first time that we really felt God tugging on our hearts. And Christine's a public school teacher by trade and taught for 10 years. So we always went the public school route. That was just what we did, and never considered otherwise until COVID, until our school shut down. And it took something that massive, that kind of seismic, and I think I speak for a lot of people across the country, I hear it all the time. God was at work in that, as hellish as it was for all of us, and as painful as it felt for over a year out there. Our church was closed, our schools were closed, and quite candidly, it drove us from our community. But in that entire conversation, Christine and I felt, and our daughter even felt, a pull and a call to something better. And we sought private Christian education for her, and I can tell you we ended up coming home to Missouri ultimately, and found Northland Christian, where my daughter's now in her 2nd year, and just this weekend, while speaking with her, she said the words, unprompted, I truly feel God has put me where I'm supposed to be. And that's special to hear coming from a 14-year-old girl who maybe a couple of years ago maybe wouldn't have had the presence of mind to even know that about herself, but she does today because of the environment she's coming up in. And so I share that story with you because the Herzog Foundation reached out to us, and we began a conversation about telling this story. And so Christine and I have done this Making the Leap podcast now for several months, and each week we've been finding guests in the arena, some of whom are affiliates that you've heard from tonight, parents, people that are starting their own schools, people that are helping fundraise at homeschool pods. I'm learning about options in education is the point that I didn't know existed. And that's what's so thrilling. There is no one-size-fits-all when it comes to your child. They're our children, and we get a say in how they're educated. We've just got to give everyone the opportunity to give them that kind of exposure. So if you're so inclined, if you're curious about it, if you're someone for some reason in this room that hasn't decided to make that leap yet, but it's on your heart, I hope you'll listen to the Making the Leap podcast, because the whole goal in it is to hear from a couple of people who are trying to figure it out, just like maybe you'd like to try to figure it out. I hope you'll enjoy it and somebody else know about it. And with that, I turn it over to my friend and the president of the Herzog Foundation, Pastor Gerald Jones. Pastor, come on.
Good evening, I'm Gerald Jones, and I'm the president of the Herzog Foundation, and it's a position that I've held since we began operation in January of 2021. My wife and I pastored in St. Joseph, just a few miles north of here, for 35 years in the same congregation. I was 11 years the youth minister and 24 years as the senior pastor, and the hardest decision that we ever made was leaving that wonderful body of people. But I will tell you, the mission of the Herzog Foundation when I was invited to be a part of it, was as intriguing to me, is as intriguing to me today as it was the day that we really sensed that the Lord was leading us to step into this role. It really is an important time in American history. Certainly in pastoring for the last 5 years, I watched as our country is going through an identity crisis, trying to figure out who it is, and wondering how do we make a difference and how do we really instill values within American culture. And Mr. Herzog was pretty adamant, advanced Christian education. And so that's what we're seeking to do here at the Herzog Foundation. With those 3 words as our mantra, advanced Christian education. And it's great to celebrate with you the milestone that is the Missouri Scholars Program. I've had opportunity to talk with educators in Florida, in Georgia, in Arizona, and hearing among 25 other states the game changer, the difference maker that these education savings accounts have become. And so what a pleasure. And I'll just say thank you to the Missouri legislature for having the courage to do this right thing in giving parents an opportunity to choose a superior product for the education of their children. We are privileged to have on our staff here at the Herzog Foundation, honestly, just an amazing team in every area. I love to give tours of the building, and as I walk by every desk, and as I walk by every office, I just give the pedigree of the person who works here, and it really is an A-list team, and we're really blessed and fortunate here. But we're blessed to have really overseeing the whole of the ESA, the Missouri Scholars Program, for us, the person who goes and finds those tax credits, Mayella Esser. Before coming to the foundation, she was actually working for the Kaufman Family Foundation. Perhaps you've heard of the Kaufman family in Kansas City. We're so blessed to have Mayella a part. And if you want to know how you could designate your tax dollars, really that was a simple decision for Tammy and I to join our dollars into the pool to help parents and really as grandparents to help grandchildren have the opportunity to be a part of Christian education. Mayella can help make that happen for you and explain to you the details. In addition to Mayella, we also hired Josh Hurlbert. You may have heard his name before. You may have seen his name on huge signs all over the northern Missouri area. He is our representative in Clay County in the Missouri General Assembly. He's there. He's in Jeff City 6 months a year trying to do as little damage as he possibly can in Missouri, and we're grateful for that. But the rest of the year, he is actually helping schools figure out which students qualify for the somewhat complicated Missouri Scholars Program. What's great about Josh is, in addition to help draft the legislation, which the governor signed, he lobbied for it, he promoted it, he explained it, he voted for it, and we hired him up. And if you wonder if your kids qualify, I guarantee you, he knows who qualifies. So Josh, thank you for the great work that you do. As I was hearing you speak, actually, Chris, where we first met was in Loudoun County, Virginia.
That's right.
Remember that? Loudoun County. Have you heard of Loudoun County, Virginia? Those folks are passionate there in Loudoun County, and for a minute tonight, on a couple of occasions, thought I was in Loudoun County. I love it. It's great. But it's great that Missouri now has that opportunity, because what Mr. Herzog believed was advancing Christian education, a foundation of faith, and the principles of work and country and God and redemption and forgiveness and grace were really what our country needed. And in a day where students are going through identity crises and taking their lives at record numbers, the gospel, he believed, was what would save the day and really provide the foundation of meaning for not just children, but for all of us. Jeannie, I never thought of it before, but you went toe-to-toe with Ben Franklin and held your own. In Missouri, we figured out how to beat death and taxes. And that's quite interesting. So I want to say thank you for coming, and thank you for being a part of this celebration of what's going on. We really do look for the day when our legislature continues to make bold moves to give real education freedom to parents to choose superior products for the education of their children. Thank you for coming. The sign that you'll see out front that Chris referenced is really because at the top of the hill we're at an intersection, and because of the nature of that intersection, which is going to be fixed, right now it's a very dangerous intersection. So we do have a sign at the end of our driveway that says no left turn. But I will tell you that really is a mantra for the Herzog Foundation. Anytime people turn left, usually there's a wreck that's going to happen. No left turns. We really do. I want to say God bless you. Thank you for what you're doing. And Josh and Mayella will be around if you have questions as a school or as individuals, how you can designate your tax dollars. We're happy to do that. One last thing, Andy, and that is one of the major initiatives of the Herzog Foundation that we've recently rolled out is what we call Schoolbox. And it's an online platform for the purpose of helping small groups of people determine if we wanted a Christian school, how do we do it? And we have talked to a number of folks across the country who have launched multiple Christian schools. And if you're in a community that does not have a Christian school option, we will work with your church, we will work with your group, we will work with your neighborhood, with your cul-de-sac, and let's make it happen because there really are options. And I think our secret sauce in that whole online platform, hfschoolbox.com, the whole secret sauce is once you tell us what kind of school you want to start, whether it's a 5-day-a-week school, a 1-day-a-week homeschool co-op, or a 3-day or 2-day-a-week hybrid homeschool, we will link you with someone who's leading that kind of school across the country. We'll pay that head of school a stipend to mentor your launch group through the process, because what we want to do is advance Christian education. I appreciate you so much coming out. God bless you. Be careful on the trails.